Hi, Gary Stearman. Good to talk to you again. We're going to spend a few minutes today talking about L.A. Marzulli. He's in studio with me today. And hi, L.A., how are you?
Really good, Gary. Thanks for having me on. Great to be here.
We're going to talk about what L.A. Marzulli has been doing. As a matter of fact, he's always busy. He's got plans in the works. He's got travels scheduled. He is constantly researching. And what are you researching these days?
Well, we're trying to prove the theory that the Nephilim, there was a diaspora of a Nephilim giants when Joshua and Caleb pressed into the promised land about 3,500 years ago. If that's the case, is there evidence of it? Do we see it in the Americas? And of course, what we believe is yes, it's everywhere. There was a race of giants in the Americas, North, Central, and South America. We believe these Nephilim tribes have different genetic characteristics, like the long necks, things like that, which the Bible specifically tells us. The buzzers is another one. I mean, what the heck does that mean? But we see artifacts. We see 28.5-pound axe heads. I mean, is it ceremonial or is it utilitarian? Modern day archaeologists will tell us that it's ceremonial. What if it's not? What if a 28-pound axe head is actually utilitarian? How big would a man have to be to swing that thing, you know, with any type of rhythm over a period of time? 9, 10, 12-footer? What's interesting is what we get in the papers from the last century. We hear as settlers move and push west in places like Ohio, Wisconsin, even Kentucky, mounds are uncovered. These burial mounds, inside those burial mounds are artifacts and oftentimes very large skeletons. Of course, on the Trail of a Nephilim Volume 2, we actually showed several pictures of 9-footers, which really may be the first pictures that anyone has uncovered that I'm aware of at any rate.
Let's go back to the beginning because you mentioned a diaspora. Diaspora meaning a scattering abroad. If a people live in one place and they're very happy and content and they're doing their thing, that they're settled in, but suddenly something changes that makes them leave that spot. They go in all directions, and you're saying this happened to the giants at a certain point in history. And many of them came to this hemisphere. Now, they were recorded in the Bible. The giants are called Nephilim. Certainly they were in the Middle East, from Mount Hermon on south down to the land of Israel, and we don't know how far to the east they inhabited land, but they were there. But you're saying they left at a certain point. About what time?
We're going to say about 3,500 years ago. Some carbon-14 dating that we've done indicates that there's a span. For instance, the Paracas people who show up out of nowhere in Paracas, Peru on the west coast. The Paracas people have very elongated skulls. We don't know what they are. I'm not saying that they're Nephilim, but they're certainly enigmatic. We can at least go, are all the skulls cradle headboarded? We have, and I talk about this on the Trail of a Nephilim too, the elongated skull of a fetus found in the womb of a female mummy. You can't elongate the skull of anything when it's still in the womb. You can't do that. So it seems to be genetic. Early genetic DNA testing was done. We can't really go with it because there's no provenance. We don't know where it came from. We really have no evidence, but early DNA evidence seemed to point to there's an outside agency manipulating the genome. And of course, this ties in with our hypothesis. So we know that the Paracas people wound up on the shores of Peru about 3,500 years ago. This ties in perfectly with the timeline of Joshua and Caleb going into Israel, or the Levant, the promised land, and pushing out the giants.
And by the way, it was God who told him to do that.
Yes.
He specifically, on several occasions, told them those are evil people. They need to be destroyed. That sounds kind of heartless to us today, but there was a war going on between humans, specifically the 12 tribes, and later on the house of David, between humans and these whatever they are.
Hybrid entities.
Genetically hybridized semi-human beings. It's so hard for us to believe this because we haven't been raised with that idea, and yet it's time to expose that idea, and you've been given a very specific ministry in that area.
Well, it very much so. And what I love about it is everything that we're doing, people go, why are you doing this? First of all, people come to the Lord through our research, through the books and DVDs that we do, specifically the Watchers series. It's eye-opening stuff. On the Trail of the Nephilim 1 and 2, eye-opening stuff. There's nothing else like it. But it points back to the veracity of the biblical narrative. And that's what we're doing. We're pointing back to the supernatural. And of course, the good book is filled with supernatural occurrences. You take the supernatural out of that book, and what are you left with? Not very much. And so what we believe is that this is a supernatural world. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, the days of Noah, and also afterwards. And if that's the case, we should find artifacts, and we see artifacts everywhere. I just came from an undisclosed location, and I can't tell you where we're working with an archaeologist on private property. And in that undisclosed location, I'll give you a little taste of what we discovered. There are very large rocks there, over 350 pounds, some of these rocks. And it's a mound. And so far, we have not found any skeletal remains, but we're going very slowly with the archaeologists. We've got a team of people who are working on this mound. What we feel is that we're going to discover something. There's also an announcement that we might be making in the near future, perhaps in September, which could be literally groundbreaking. And that sounds like a lot of hype, but if the data holds, and that's why I've got to be very cautious here, if the data holds, truly it will be groundbreaking.
Now, you mentioned September. There's a conference taking place in
Yes.
September. You're going to be speaking there. Tell us about it.
Well, you'll be speaking there too, Gary Stearman.
Yes, I will.
Gary Stearman, Russ Dizdar, Chief Joseph Riverwind, Fritz Zimmerman, and L.A. Marzulli, all at the Nephilim Mounds 3 conference in Newark, Ohio. And Fritz Zimmerman was going to be fantastic. He'll be presenting an hour-long presentation, but on Sunday he'll be taking us out to the Great Circle Mound and giving us a presentation right there on the Circle Mound. I know you've got two topics that you're going to deal with, which is no one has ever really talked about before, so we're very interested in hearing about that. Russ Dizdar, of course, Chief Joseph Riverwind brings a Native American perspective to the whole Nephilim agenda. Russ Dizdar talking about the backbreeding of the Nephilim and what we're seeing in the underground, specifically with SRA. And of course, I'll be bringing my new research into the mix also.
Well, as it happens, we have a couple of DVD sets right here on the table in front of me. And one of them says Giants Hiding in Plain Sight, 5 DVDs. The other one is the second annual Nephilim Mounds Conference DVD set with Russ Dizdar, L.A. Marzulli, and myself. We have 8 DVDs here, which we're offering as the Nephilim Mounds package if you want to kind of come up to speed on the research that's been done up to now. And if you order the Nephilim Mounds package, which is the 8 DVDs, 2 DVD sets for $99.95, we will add the Chicago Summit 2013 DVD set. And the Chicago Summit included people, like yourself. Tell us who else was there.
Oh, Russ Dizdar. Derek Gilbert gave a fascinating presentation on what Facebook is really about. Russ Dizdar, of course, backbreeding of a Nephilim, the rise of the occult. If you've never seen Russ Dizdar speak, he's a passionate man, a passionate pastor who brings, who has been delving into some very dark stuff. But the reason why he does it is because it's happening, folks, and it's happening in a town where you live. Guaranteed there are covens that are hidden that are warring against the pastor in your area. And that's what Russ educates the believers about. So it's
spiritual
good
warfare.
Stuff. Spiritual warfare.
Yeah. And that's the Nephilim Mounds package, plus the bonus conference set, Chicago 2013, all for $99.95. It's a great bargain, loaded with information about the things we're talking about right now, the occult explosion in the latter days, including phenomena in the heavens. We don't hesitate to talk about things like UFOs because the Bible talks about them. The Bible talks about angels, fallen angels, circulating in the heavens at the behest of the prince of the power of the air. The Bible talks about dark forces. The Bible talks about things that have new meanings, if you will, new appearances or modes of appearance in our era. They're trying to disguise themselves as aliens from outer space these days. And they're abducting people. They're abducting cattle and taking all the blood from cattle. Reminds me of the Old Testament, where the priests of Baal used to drain all the blood out of cows and offer that blood up sacrificially to their false gods. And we just have the same thing happening today.
Slightly different.
Yeah, under the
same thing.
rubric, under the guise of aliens from outer space. But it's just nothing has ever changed. And this is the world in which we live. It sounds strange when we air these ideas at first. And I know you've encountered a lot of resistance along the way, because you're talking about giants, and giants that are genetically different from human beings, markedly different. And the Lord has opened little doors for you, so that, and we won't talk about some of the latest doors that have been opened, but you've got some big announcements coming in the near future,
I hope
right?
so. I think so.
And we're waiting for all of those. L.A. Marzulli on the trail of the Nephilim. And folks, there really are Nephilim. Not necessarily the way they appeared in the Old Testament, but they're still around. The spirits of those dark forces are still around to this very day.
And they're manifesting on the earth even as we speak.
Indeed. Strange appearances. Should we go on? We will go on, believe me. Nothing's going to stop L.A., I know that. And every time he speaks, he's got some new disclosure. And is he doing this for fun? Is he doing it because, well, it's just entertaining for him? No. I think L.A. is driven by the need to wake Christians up to what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
And what's happening is on a supernatural level.
It's on a supernatural level. It's coming down to a neighborhood near you. UFO phenomena is real, burgeoning, and not going away. We are poised for the coming great deception. The governments of the world are signaling it. The Vatican has signaled it. We are in some very dark, unprecedented times.
Yes, we are. It's good to talk to you, L.A. And
thank you, Gary.
We're going to be meeting with you again from time to time here and in various conferences. And give the name and the date of that.
Nephilim Mounds 3, www.nephilimmounds3, the number 3.com. Register now. Registration is starting to fill up, which is a good thing. September 12th, September 13th, 10 hours. The theater is incredible. The venue that this is being held in, absolutely incredible. State-of-the-art stuff. On the 12th and the 13th, we'll all be going out with Fritz Zimmerman for an on-site presentation. You won't want to miss that.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Always good to talk with L.A. Marzulli. I'm Gary Stearman. We're watching. You keep watching, too. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.